I just couldn't believe when I was digging into you again. Brent, what aren't you responsible for in terms of catchphrases in sports? When I was doing my deep dive just to reconfigure everything I knew about you before, I had no idea that March Madness came from you, that the idea of March Madness came out of your mouth in 1982. Can you tell us that story, please?
Well, actually, we have to give full credit. I'll tell you a cute anecdote about the story and how March Madness came to be. First of all, the first time it was used, to the best of the NCAA and the network's knowledge, was CBS took March Madness away from NBC. We outbid them for the tournament. NBC had regionalized it for several years. The executive who deserves a lot of credit is no longer with CBS. His name is Kevin O'Malley, a young man who went to Boston College, loved college basketball. And he was at a bar, a saloon, one evening in New York, and we were watching a Notre Dame game against BYU, of all things. Danny Ainge was playing very well. And he looked over at me and he said, "We're going to bid for this, and we're going to get the tournament for next year," which CBS did. They had enough money to do it. And we did all the games on a regional basis. In other words, the local television stations carried the game that was relevant to their particular area. I was the host. I was not the play-by-play man when CBS got. Gary Bender was the original play-by-play man for CBS. But I had a board physically where I actually put names of the teams up and everything, and it was a late one Thursday evening after the opening games, and I said, we had a couple of big upsets late that night out of the West Coast, and I said, folks, this is madness. This is March Madness. Now, where it came from, I didn't just pull it out of thin air, but when I was a newspaper man and a broadcaster back in Chicago, when I started, there was a car dealer who was always close to the state high school basketball tournament in the state of Illinois. It was a big, big deal. In fact, the state high school basketball tournament at that time in Indiana and Illinois was actually bigger than the college tournament. And he referred to it in an ad that ran in our paper, the Chicago's American, as March Madness. And he would print the games. But then, of course, underneath he would have, his car sales for March. That was all part of March Madness. And that stuck with me when I went to the network. Well, they wanted to copyright it. The NCAA wanted to copyright it. And the state of Illinois alerted them that they had used March Madness before they had. So obviously the attorneys came to me and asked me, and I said, listen, that definitely was started by the state of Illinois and their downstate high school basketball tournament. It had nothing to do with college. I said, and if I'm called to testify in any kind of court proceeding, I will tell you, and I will tell the judge, and I will tell whoever else is there, that this belongs to the state of Illinois, not the NCAA. Well, a settlement was made. The NCAA didn't argue with what I told them because it was the truth. And they paid the state of Illinois. I have no idea what the sum was. And now the NCAA does own, they have the copyright to March Madness. But that's how it began. And it stems from the Illinois State High School basketball tournament and a car dealer in Chicago. And I just... Suzy, it was accidental. It wasn't something I wasn't thinking about, but we had a couple of big upsets late that night. I was at the board, and so I called it March Madness, and obviously it stuck, and it's a great description. The NCAA at one time actually considered moving the tournament to April, and the fact that March Madness became a copyright, and so many people refer to it, has impacted the NCAA to keep it where it is in March. But if that had not been copyrighted, believe me, they would have moved the tournament into April. March is a little bit tricky for them to gear back up after the Super Bowl and everything, and they thought they could grow college basketball better if they delayed the tournament. But because it's known far and wide and forevermore as March Madness, they will play the tournament in March, with the championship game being in the early stages of April. And that's the story.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.